Story 1. The Crimson Circle. It all started when Jenny's boyfriend, Marcus, invited her to meet a group of friends he described as family. She had no idea what she was getting into. The place was remote, a cabin deep in the forest where cell service was non-existent, and the only sounds were the eerie howling of distant animals. At first, everyone seemed welcoming. They called themselves the Crimson Circle, a group of free spirits seeking a deeper connection with the earth. Jenny quickly noticed odd rituals, a daily chant, strict rules about speaking to outsiders, and an unsettling, almost hypnotic speech from the group leader, known only as the Shepherd. Marcus seemed different here, quieter, almost robotic in his movements and speech. She brushed it off, but something gnawed at her, especially as the others watched her every move. On the third night, during a strange midnight communion, the Shepherd insisted Jenny join them in a binding ritual. They led her to an underground chamber, lit only by dim, red-tinted candles. Inside, bizarre symbols were drawn on the walls, and a faint, sickly sweet smell filled the air. She wanted to leave, but Marcus held her tightly, whispering, "This is the only way you'll understand." In the candlelight, she could see others standing in a circle, staring at her with hollow, glassy eyes. They began to chant in a language she didn't recognize, louder and louder until the ground beneath her seemed to shake. Jenny struggled, demanding they let her go, but no one listened. Her heart pounded as they tied her wrists, forcing her to stand in the center of the circle. Suddenly, the Shepherd stepped forward, raising a blade. In that moment, she managed to break free, elbowing Marcus in the ribs and rushing toward the entrance. She stumbled through the dark woods, running until she saw lights from a passing car on a distant road. She flagged it down, escaping just in time. To this day, she can't shake the feeling that someone is watching her, waiting for her to return to the Crimson Circle. Story 2. The Harvesters of Light. James had always been interested in the supernatural, so when he stumbled across a group online that claimed to be light seekers, he couldn't resist the invitation. Their meetings were held in an old barn on the outskirts of town. The first few gatherings were innocent enough, just meditation, energy practices, and talk of spiritual awakening. But after he joined their ranks, the tone shifted dramatically. The leader, a woman who called herself Mother Lenore, started talking about harvesting souls and offering light to the universe. James thought it was metaphorical at first, but the group's activities became darker with each meeting. They began to practice bizarre rituals late into the night, chanting, burning strange herbs, and speaking of ascending by leaving behind mortal ties. One night, Mother Lenore selected James for a special ceremony called the Gathering. Blindfolded and bound, he was led to a hidden basement beneath the barn, where he felt a chilling presence around him, cold hands, whispering voices, and a strange hum that seemed to vibrate through his bones. The members surrounded him, chanting in unison as they pressed their cold hands to his skin, mumbling something about transferring their essence into him. Then he felt it, a strange, intense pressure in his chest, as though something was being pulled out of him. Panic overtook him and he fought against his bindings, breaking free and yanking the blindfold off just in time to see the hollow, soulless eyes of his fellow light seekers. Their faces were expressionless, like empty vessels, and their eyes glowed faintly, as if they were no longer human. James fled the barn and never looked back. The cult was gone the next day, the barn abandoned as if they had never been there. He still sees their faces in his dreams, especially Mother Lenore whispering that one day she'll come back to finish the ritual. Story 3. The Hands of Eternity. In the isolated town of Willow's End, Lily found herself working on a farm as part of a seasonal job. The town was small, seemingly quiet, with fields that stretched on forever. The other workers seemed nice enough at first, but there was something peculiar about them. They all wore simple white clothes and whispered reverently about a group known as the Hands of Eternity. After a few days, they invited her to their service, held in a large abandoned chapel on the outskirts of town. As she entered, a strange feeling of dread washed over her. Flickering candlelight revealed grim, ancient-looking symbols carved into the walls, and a large, cold stone altar sat at the center of the room. The leader, a stoic man named Ezra, spoke of reaching beyond and transcending the mortal coil. The service began with singing and chanting, but then something strange happened. The members started weeping and clutching at each other, their faces twisted in despair. Ezra explained they were preparing for the offering, a ritual where they would all transcend together. Before Lily could comprehend what was happening, she was grabbed by two of the cult members and forced onto the stone altar. Ezra held up an ancient book, chanting in a language that made her skin crawl, and the other cult members began a slow, eerie hum that filled the room. She struggled, screaming, but the sound was swallowed by their chanting. Just as Ezra raised a blade, the candle suddenly went out, plunging the chapel into darkness. The chanting stopped, replaced by gasps and frantic whispers. Lily scrambled off the altar, her heart pounding as chaos erupted around her. In the faint moonlight streaming through the broken windows, she could see Ezra's terrified face as he yelled for the others to complete the offering before it was too late. Lily didn't wait to find out what that meant. She darted out of the chapel and ran through the fields, only stopping when she reached the edge of town. The police found the chapel abandoned the next day, with no trace of the cult. But to this day, Lily can't shake the feeling that the hands of eternity are still watching her, waiting for her to finish what they started.